Liz Wilson. I live in Newton Mearns, which is just outside Glasgow. I'm actually with East Renfrewshire, and I'm a member of Tide and a member of East Renfrewshire Carers Group. And I care for my husband, David, who has advanced Alzheimer's and who during the COVID epidemic had a huge dip and ended up in care.
My name is Susan Bruce. My mother sadly died 3 years ago, and she had vascular dementia. Mum was 4 years in the care home, nursing home, and it was terrible, absolutely awful.
Hello, I'm Mary Mitchell. I live on Anglesey, North Wales, and my husband's in a care home in Carnarvon, which is where I am now because he's end of life, and we're going up and down a bit of a roller coaster because some days he's really poorly and other days he's plateauing, and I've been living here for a week now.
Since David was diagnosed in 2018, I've had a series of battles to make his life richer, including a huge issue over a blue badge. But the problem really is now that he is bedbound after a case of COVID at Christmas, which led to a huge dip in his situation. And although the staff in the home are very well-meaning and very caring, they're lovely people, there are insufficient numbers of them to make a difference to his daily life. In the long battle to get him a chair that suited his needs, but now that he has it and can be hoisted up and down, many times I go in, I'm allowed to go in slightly more often now, he's lying still flat in his bed without any stimulation. The dentists are not going in. My husband cannot wear his dentures because he's lost so much weight. They cannot get a dentist to go in to see if, and I think by the time they do, he will not be able to use teeth. So he's on a soft diet. There's the issue of glasses and opticians, because now that he is bedbound, he's now down to one pair of glasses, and I don't see if these broke. He could just get a replacement of his old prescription, but it's not perceived as one of his disabilities. And it is a disability because he has a cataract, and there's no way, I think, that from now on they're going to be able to measure that cataract or see if it needs surgery. And if it did need surgery, he would be regarded as a case possibly of not being able to have it. So there's a lot of issues around the consideration of somebody with dementia as a patient, that he's not just a dementia patient, he's a man with other needs. And think of two examples. First was trying to go into a Debenhams shoe department to buy shoes with my husband. And he was still able to make choices and have good views, but he was very slow and he couldn't try on the shoe very easily. And I was trying to support him, and the young saleswoman was extremely rude, extremely didn't realize what was going on, was kind of saying, no, it doesn't go there. And that was one case. And my second case is to do with his perceptual problems as he was getting more and more slightly unsteady, because I think my husband had it for about 5 years before he was diagnosed. So by the time that the diagnosis came, he was beginning to show physical as well as other symptoms, and perceptual difficulties was one case. And I applied for a blue badge because he was struggling a wee bit. He wasn't driving at this point, but he was struggling to recognize where the car was and to know. And the reaction of the OT at first was, who assessed him, well, he can walk, so he doesn't need a blue badge.
In many ways, and especially in the small town that I'm in, people seem to care for each other, so they recognise that, if it's all people had their eye on him and understood what was going on, and that was very, very, very positive experience.
With mine, it wasn't so much social situations. It was with the carers who came in to see Mum. The agencies, again, all appointed by Leeds City Council. Everything was private, and they were absolutely appalling. And that for me was one of the worst things.
East Renfrewshire is a small council, and they are very proactive in dementia awareness and dementia friendliness, and going round and putting stickers in and issuing cards to people, and organising what I would have called normal social events. Like they used to use a local restaurant, and the restaurant agreed to put a room aside, not a room aside, but a sort of area aside, so that people could bring their partners and sit and have a coffee or a drink or a lunch and meet other people and take part in a social life. Because I don't know if the others found this, but one of the problems for my husband was that his social life disappeared, because friends, he's got one very good friend who is still there around and helping and supporting us, but the groups of friends that he used to go out for lunch with disappeared. They never bothered even phoning. I've had 2 or 3 close friends who have just, like, as if they've dropped off the face of the earth. There's a sort of reluctance to accept it as a disability. I mean, I go and see a friend who's got multiple sclerosis and who's chair bound, but her friends come and deal with her and talk to her and have not lost the friendship groups.
Mum was given the diagnosis and that was it. And then I was just hurtled into the whole system. It was awful. I wish somebody had sat down and taken it one-to-one, right, saying to my sister, right then, Susan, right then, Alison, right, this is going to be difficult, but nobody did. Nobody did. It was awful, awful, dreadful.
But the psychiatrist who gave the diagnosis was just brilliant. And so she did give me hope. You know, I had to deal with my own feelings, but I thought she made me believe that there was help and people to support.
I was a civil servant for 30 years with the Department for Work and Pensions. I did not know, following Mum's diagnosis, my rights. I did not know it. Nobody ever told me. I just had to push my way through the system. No, didn't know anything. And it might have helped if I had known what the backup of the law and the rights I had.
I had a CPN who is still popping in to see how he is. So I was very fortunate in terms of the care and the information I got in the medical side of things. But I was also very fortunate within a week of diagnosis, because he'd been diagnosed by this particular clinic rather than by the GP. I got a referral to the Carers Association, East Renfrewshire Carers Association, and they immediately gave me tremendous emotional support, tremendous information, and they also enrolled me in an eight-week course. It's what are your legal rights? I mean, it's very well to talk about the Human Rights Act and all the rest of it, but that is actually, I've got to say, unless people are on the ground fulfilling the act, it really means, it's like saying every child has a right to education. That's true, but if there are no schools and no teachers and no facilities, they're not going to get it. I think there should be some focus on, at the point of diagnosis, to share knowledge of legal rights. Not everybody lives in as good a council as I did and got support from the Money and Rights team, got support from the self-directed support team, got support from a wide variety, including we were able to access a lawyer free of charge for an online session. I think if people were much more better informed, I believe very clearly in early signposting and people knowing where to, particularly people who don't have a particularly high level of skill, either in computing or in working your way through the system, or who have sons or daughters who can support them, I think it's very important that everybody gets some kind of pack or some kind of, like they give out for the new babies in Scotland, you know.
I think a carer who is armed is a carer who's got weight behind them with their voice, and so the most important thing is for the carer or advocate, because not everybody has a carer, that everybody should have an advocate. It's information and confidence